In this video, I'm going to work through this limit problem. So the first thing I'm going to do, as always, is I'm going to check my type. And when I evaluate the numerator at -1, I get 9. And when I evaluate the denominator at -1, I get 0. So from what we covered in class, I'm expecting this limit to tend to either plus or minus infinity. I just have to determine the sign. Now, before I do that, I want to think about where the roots and the points on the number line are where this function would be undefined. So I'm going to rewrite this, and I'm going to, first of all, factor. So I get the limit as x tends to -1 from the right. I have x minus 2 squared times x plus 2. And when I factor that denominator, I get x minus 1 squared times x plus 1 cubed. Now let's take a second here and think about where are the points what are the roots? The roots are x equals 2 and x equals -2. And where is this function undefined? It's undefined when x equals 1 and x equals -1. I want to keep those points in mind when I'm thinking about the assign of the function on the appropriate interval. So I've gone ahead and placed the roots and the undefined points on the real number line here. And now I need to think about where I'm on what interval I need to figure out the sign. So I'm going to -1 from the right. That means I'm thinking about values of the function as x is greater than -1. So I need to look on this interval. So if you're taking a test point, it has to be on this interval. You couldn't take a test point here, say, because the function could change sign on either side of that root. So let's take a test point in this interval. A good choice is likely 0, but you can pick any point. So if I think about this, we're positive here and positive here all the time, actually. And the function is going to be positive here if I evaluate at 0 and positive here. So I get a positive times a positive over a positive times a positive, which is positive. That then tells me that my limit is plus infinity. Now let's say I wanted to figure out the limit as x tends to -1 from the left. So in that case, I'm thinking about the sign of the function on this interval. A good test point on this interval might be -1.5. But I couldn't pick something like -3 because that would put me over on this interval, and the function can change sign on either side of its root. So let's think about the sign of the function if we take -1.5 as our test point. So again, this will always be positive, right? Because of that square, and same with that one. -1.5 plus 2 is half, which is positive, but -1.5 plus 1 cubed is negative. So my sign on this interval is going to be a positive times a positive over a positive times a negative, which gives me a negative. So that tells me that this limit is minus infinity.